Welcome back my YouTube channel Worth Old Coin Value. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most interesting and valuable in this coin 1987 South Africa 50 cents coin, which is not just a piece of currency, but a rare collectible worth a jaw-dropping $67,230. That's right, this seemingly ordinary coin has an incredible value, and today, we're diving deep into the details of why this coin is so valuable, its history, and how you can determine if yours might be worth a fortune too. Before we talk about why the 1987 South Africa 50 cents coin is so valuable today, let's take a step back in time. South Africa was undergoing significant political and social changes in the 1980s, which is important to understand the context of this coin's creation. In 1987, South Africa was still in the grips of apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination. The country was navigating through years of unrest, international sanctions, and internal protests. Despite the political turmoil, the South African Reserve Bank continued issuing coins, and in 1987, they minted a series of commemorative and standard circulation coins. The 1987 50 cents coin was part of this era. It's important to note that South Africa had previously used the British pound before transitioning to the rand, and by 1987, the rand was firmly established as the national currency. So when you hold this coin in your hand, you're touching a piece of South African history. Now let's talk about the design of this coin. On the obverse side, you'll notice a portrait of the then president of South Africa, P.W. Botha. Botha was the country's head of state from 1984 to 1989 and played a controversial role during the apartheid era. On the reverse side, you'll see the springbok antelope, a national symbol of South Africa. The springbok represents the country's wildlife and is a cherished symbol of pride for many South Africans. It's a stunning image, isn't it? The coin is made of cupronickel, a metal alloy of copper and nickel, and weighs around 15 grams with a diameter of 30 millimeters. Its circular design is familiar to collectors, but its value lies far beyond its mere physical features. Now, let's get to the juicy part. Why is the 1987 50 cents coin valued at $67,230? This is where the rarity factor comes into play. Although the 1987 50 cents coin was released for general circulation, only a limited number were minted. Coin collectors often refer to it as a key date coin because the mintage figures for this year are much lower compared to other years in the 1980s. What does this mean for collectors? The rarity of a coin plays a huge role in its value. In 1987, the South African Mint produced just a small number of 50 cents coins, and over time, many of these coins were lost or damaged, further driving up the rarity factor. Another key factor contributing to the coin's value is its condition. Coins in uncirculated or proof condition, with minimal wear and tear, are far more valuable. So, if you're holding on to one of these pristine specimens, your coin could be worth thousands of dollars. As of today, the 1987 South Africa 50 cents coin has been selling for as much as $67,230 at auctions, but don't get too excited just yet. This value depends on factors like condition, provenance, and demand. I spoke with a few coin experts, and here's what they say. While $67,230 is the highest recorded sale price, the average price for a well-preserved 1987 50 cents coin tends to be lower, usually in the range of a few $1,000s. Interestingly, the market for these coins is growing. As more collectors and investors seek rare and historical coins, the demand for high-quality 1987 50 cents pieces continues to rise. All right, so how can you tell if you have one of these valuable coins? Well, it all starts with the condition. Coins in mint state, which means no visible scratches or wear, are the most sought after. Look closely at the details on the coin. Are the features sharp and clear? Is the image of the springbok or President Botha still well-defined? If so, you're on the right track. Next, check for any signs of wear, and make sure the coin hasn't been altered or cleaned. Many collectors avoid coins that have been cleaned because it can reduce their value. Use a magnifying loupe or a high-resolution camera to examine the coin's surface. If it looks pristine and the features are clearly visible, you could have a valuable piece in your hands. So, What does all this mean for you as a collector? The 1987 South Africa 50 cents coin. In this coin, South African 1988 5 cents coin was issued as part of South Africa's coin series in the late 1980s. But what makes this particular coin stand out so much? Well, it's not just because of the date. It's a combination of factors like its design, historical significance, and, of course, its rarity. On the obverse side of the coin, we see a portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, who was a key figure in South Africa's colonial history, credited with establishing the first European settlement at the Cape of Good Hope in 1652. This portrait has been a common feature on South African coins for decades. It's a nod to South Africa's deep-rooted history, which collectors appreciate. On the reverse side, we see the iconic Protea flower, the national flower of South Africa, and the denomination 5C for 5 cents. The design represents the country's natural beauty and its rich flora, which also adds to the appeal of this coin for collectors. Now, let's take a step back and look at the history behind the 5 cents coin itself. The South African 5 cents coin was first introduced in 1961, replacing the earlier smaller denominations of the pre-1961 South African currency system. In 1988, the country was going through significant political and social changes, which adds another layer of historical significance to this particular coin. In the late 1980s, South Africa was at a crossroads in its history. With the apartheid system still in place, though change was on the horizon. So, when the South African Reserve Bank minted the 1988 5 cents coin, it was not just a piece of currency, it was part of the fabric of a nation in transition. Now, let's talk about the minting of the 1988 5 cents coin. While this coin wasn't initially considered rare or special when it was first produced, its rarity and value have increased over time. The South African Mint produced a significant number of coins in 1988, but there were some interesting variations that began to catch the eyes of collectors. Interestingly, most of the 1988 5 cents coins were minted with a standard finish, but there were a few limited-run coins with specific errors or variations that significantly raised their value. These errors could range from slight misprints on the coin's edge to slight variations in the design elements. And of course, a coin with such a unique history becomes a highly sought-after collectible. Now, let's get to the exciting part, the value. While a typical 1988 5 cents coin is worth just a few cents today, there are certain rare examples of this coin that have sold for incredible prices. One of these coins, with a specific error or rare minting, fetched a whopping $53,230 at auction. How did it get this high? Well, the combination of rarity, historical significance, and demand among collectors drove the price up. When you add a unique feature, like a minting error or a coin that was kept in pristine condition over the years, the value can skyrocket, especially when only a few are known to exist. So, how do you spot a valuable 1988 5 cents coin? The key is to look for imperfections or unique features that make it stand out. Let me walk you through a few things to check for. First, check the edges of the coin for any errors in the minting process. Misalignments, incorrect inscriptions, or unintentional designs can sometimes occur. Next, inspect the coin for any signs of unusual wear. Coins in mint or near mint condition will command a premium. Now that you know how valuable a coin like this can be, what if you're just starting out in the world of coin collecting? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Here are a few tips to help you build your collection and potentially discover coins like this one. And that wraps up today's video on the incredible South African 1988 5 cents coin, worth up to $53,230. Who would have thought that such a small coin could carry such a big value? History on this coin: 1988, South African 1 center coin ***, and its unbelievable market value of a jaw-dropping $78, $125. Yes, you heard that right. This little coin, which was once worth just 1 cent, has now become one of the most valuable pieces in the numismatic world. So grab your magnifying glass and let's explore the history and rarity behind this stunning coin. To understand why the 1988 South African 1 cent coin is so valuable today, we need to step back in time. Let's go over its origins and the historical significance of South Africa's coinage during the 1980s. In the 1980s, South Africa was in the midst of major political and economic changes. The country was under the system of apartheid, which was a deeply controversial regime. This political backdrop plays an important role in the history of South African coins during this era. However, when it comes to the 1-cent coin, it's its design and production that contribute to its rarity and value. First issued in 1961. The South African 1-cent coin was part of the country's decimal currency system that replaced the pound and shilling system. Coins were initially produced by the South African Mint, which was established in the 1940s. Now, fast forward to 1988. This year marked the final year the 1-cent coin was minted before it was phased out. The 1988 1-cent coin is part of a set of final year coins, which are often highly sought after by collectors. Let's talk about the design of this coin. The 1988 South African 1-cent coin measures just 16 millimeters in diameter and is made of bronze, a durable metal that gives it a distinct, warm, reddish-brown color. The obverse, or front of the coin, features the portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, a key historical figure in South Africa's history. He was a Dutch colonial administrator and the founder of Cape Colony. On the reverse side, we have the iconic springbok, the national symbol of South Africa. The springbok is a graceful and quick antelope, and it represents the country's natural beauty and wildlife. Notice the fine details on the springbok design. The texture, the crisp lines, it's these characteristics that make this coin not only visually appealing but historically important. Now, let's get into the most exciting part. Why is the 1988 South African 1-cent coin worth $78, $125 today? The answer lies in its rarity and its condition. In 1988, South Africa minted a relatively small number of 1-cent coins compared to other denominations. However, a portion of these coins never made it into circulation due to errors in production and a shift in the national currency policy. Most notably, some of the 1988 1-cent coins were misstruck, creating extremely rare variations that have sparked bidding wars among collectors. The most valuable among these are the proof coins, which are coins made for collectors and not meant for circulation. These proof coins are flawless, with a high-quality finish that makes them stand out. In recent auctions, a graded 1988 South African 1-cent coin with an impeccable quality and rarity has sold for over $78,000. The combination of historical significance, rarity, and condition has made this coin a true treasure in the eyes of collectors. Let's talk about how this coin fits into the broader world of coin collecting and investment. The 1988 South African 1-cent coin isn't just a piece of history, it's also an excellent example of how rare coins can be valuable investments. Numismatics, the study or collection of coins, has always been a popular hobby, but it has also become a serious investment opportunity. Rare coins like this one can appreciate over time, and collectors often hold onto these pieces for years, if not decades, watching their value grow. For many collectors, it's about more than just the money. It's about the joy of owning a rare and beautiful piece of history. But for investors, the 1988 1-cent coin is definitely one to keep an eye on if you're looking to expand your portfolio. So, what do you think? Is the 1988 South African 1-cent coin the crown jewel of your collection? Or perhaps it's still on your bucket list? Either way, it's clear that this small piece of currency has a big story to tell, and it could be worth more than you ever imagined. Remember, whether you're a passionate collector or a casual numismatist, understanding the history in this coin 1989 South Africa Rand coin, a piece of history that's been hidden in plain sight for decades. Now, if you're a collector or just someone fascinated by rare finds, stick around, because we're going to unpack everything about this coin, the history behind it, why it's so valuable, and how you can identify it. But before we start, if you love discovering hidden gems like this one, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any of our exciting coin discoveries. Alright, let's get started. Let's start with some background. The 1989 South African Rand coin is an absolute legend in the world of numismatics. It features a stunning design with a lion and the iconic Krugerrand on one side, along with the South African coat of arms on the reverse. This coin was minted during a time of political change in South Africa, and that historical context only adds to its allure. Initially, the rand was intended to be a standard piece of currency, but over time, certain editions, like the 1989 version, gained incredible value due to their rarity, minting errors, and the political significance of the time. Before we talk about how valuable this coin is today, let's take a step back and understand the context in which it was minted. The 1980s were a turbulent time in South Africa, with political and social unrest, and the country was transitioning out of the era of apartheid. In 1989, the country was still under heavy sanctions from the international community, and the political climate was uncertain. The coin itself became not just a medium of exchange, but also a symbol of the country's economic struggles and triumphs. This era marked a turning point, with Nelson Mandela's release just around the corner in 1990, signaling the end of apartheid. The design of the 1989 rand coin also tells a story, featuring a beautifully rendered image of a lion, a powerful symbol of South Africa's national identity. But it's not just the design that makes it valuable. It's also the rarity and the peculiarities of the minting process. So, what makes the 1989 South Africa rand coin worth a staggering $14,741? Well, let's break it down. First, let's talk about rarity. While the rand coins were minted in large numbers in 1989, only a very small number of these particular coins made it into circulation in near-mint condition. Coins like this one were kept in private collections or rarely used, which preserved their pristine condition. Now, imagine finding a coin that is nearly 40 years old, in perfect condition, and practically untouched by time. That's what sets this coin apart. A coin in such a condition is highly sought after by collectors around the world. But wait, there's more. Some 1989 South Africa rand coins have been known to have slight minting errors, whether it's a small misprint, a defect in the shape, or a design flaw. These errors can drive the value up exponentially. If you're lucky enough to find one with an error, your coin could be worth much more than the standard $14,741. So, how can you spot a 1989 South Africa rand coin in your own collection or at an antique shop? Here are the key features to look out for. First, the weight. This coin weighs approximately 33.93 grams, which is slightly heavier than some other rand coins minted during the same era. The diameter is 32.69 millimeters, so it's not exactly a small coin. Next, the design. The obverse features a bold lion in profile, which has become an iconic symbol of South Africa. The reverse features the South African coat of arms, as well as the year 1989. Pay close attention to the mint mark on the coin, which may appear beneath the lion. Look for special features like an imperfect strike or other slight variations that could indicate a rarer version of the coin. If you find one of these, you may have just stumbled upon a hidden treasure. Okay, so now that we know how valuable the 1989 South Africa rand coin can be, you might be wondering, how do I sell or trade it? First, you'll want to make sure the coin is in good condition. If it's in pristine condition or has a unique error, consider getting it professionally graded by a reputable service like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. A certified coin can fetch a higher price in the market. Next, consider selling it through online auctions like eBay or through specialized numismatic dealers who focus on rare coins. You can also visit coin shows, where collectors and dealers alike gather to trade rare pieces. To wrap it up, the 1989 South Africa rand coin. This coin, 1997 South Africa 20-cent coin, a coin that has recently been linked to a mind-blowing value of $3 million. I know what you're thinking. How could a simple 20-cent coin from South Africa be worth such an astronomical amount? Well, grab your magnifying glass, because today we're going to uncover the mystery behind this incredibly rare and valuable. The 1997 South Africa 20-cent coin is part of South Africa's standard coin series, introduced in the mid-90s after the country's democratic transition. This coin features some beautiful, intricate designs, but it's the history behind it that really elevates its value. On the obverse side, you'll notice the portrait of the legendary Nelson Mandela, South Africa's first black president after the end of apartheid, which marks this as a significant historical coin. And on the reverse side, we have the iconic image of a small springbok, which is South Africa's national symbol. The springbok is famous for its agility, and it's been a symbol of the country's strength and resilience for decades. But here's where things get interesting. While most 1997 20-cent coins are still in circulation, there's a rare variety of this coin that's making waves in the collector community. This specific coin was struck in an extremely limited number, and it's that rarity that's led to the coin's high value to why is this coin so valuable? Well, in 1997, South Africa's mint released a set of 20-cent coins as part of a new series. However, during the production process, a small batch of 20-cent coins was struck with a minor error, and this is what makes them so valuable today. Some of these coins were minted with a unique and rare feature. They were accidentally produced with a double die, meaning that the design was stamped twice on the same coin. This error created subtle differences in the appearance of the coin, making it stand out from other 20-cent pieces. The coins with this error are now regarded as mistakes, and in the world of numismatics, mistakes can be worth a lot of money. Now, here's where the story takes an even more interesting turn. In recent years, one of these error coins surfaced at an auction and completely shocked the numismatic community. Experts estimated the value of the coin at $3 million due to its rarity, the historical significance of the year 1997, and the error it contained. That's right, $3 million. And here's the kicker. This coin wasn't even in mint condition. It had been circulated, so it wasn't pristine. But because of its rarity and the fact that it had the double die error, it commanded such an extraordinary price. What makes a coin like this fetch such a high price at an auction? There are several factors, including rarity, demand, condition, and historical context. But in this case, it was mainly the rarity of the error that made it so desirable to collectors and investors alike. Now, you might be wondering, how can I tell if I have one of these rare, valuable coins in my collection? Well, I've got you covered. Here's how you can spot a potential 1997 South Africa 20-cent error coin. First, you want to look for the double die error. To do this, inspect the design, especially the features of the springbok and the lettering. If you see a slight double outline or a doubled image, that's a sign of the error. Be sure to use a magnifying glass to catch even the smallest of details. Next, check the overall condition. While the coin doesn't have to be perfect, the better its condition, the more valuable it will be. Coins with minimal wear and tear typically command higher prices. What does this mean for the market? Is it just the 1997 20-cent coin that's valuable? Or are there other coins from the same era that are also fetching high price as well? The coin market has exploded in recent years, and rare coins like this one are driving that growth. Many collectors and investors are actively searching for error coins, particularly those that have historical significance. And South African coins, in particular, have become incredibly popular due to their connection to the country's rich history and the global interest in Mandela-era memorabilia. To wrap things up, the 1997 South Africa 20-cent coin is a prime example of how a small error can create a massive value in the world of numismatics. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey, this coin is a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected pieces can hold the greatest value. This coin 1985 South African 5-cent coin. This coin, a piece of history, is not only fascinating but also holds a jaw-dropping value of $2.5 million. Stick around to learn why this little coin can fetch such an incredible amount and what makes it one of the rarest and most sought after in the world of numismatics. Before we delve into the astounding value of this coin, let's take a moment to understand its historical significance. The 5-cent coin was part of South Africa's currency system during the late 20th century. Introduced in 1961 as part of a series of coins to replace the South African pound with the South African rand, the 5-cent coin was designed to be a small, everyday denomination that citizens used for daily transactions. In 1985, South Africa was going through significant political and social changes. The country was under the apartheid regime, and many international sanctions were being placed on South Africa due to its policies. This makes the 1985 coin particularly interesting, as it symbolizes a turbulent period in South African history. Let's now look at the design of the 1985 South African 5-cent coin. On the obverse, we find a portrait of the first president of the Republic of South Africa, Charles Robert Swart, with the words South Africa inscribed around the rim. But what makes the reverse side so interesting is the iconic design of a protea flower. The protea is South Africa's national flower, symbolizing beauty, strength, and resilience. The simplicity of this design hides a great deal of significance and artistry, contributing to the overall appeal of the coin. Now, we get to the million-dollar question. Why is this 1985 South African 5-cent coin worth $2.5 million? There are a few key reasons behind its astronomical value. First, we must consider the rarity of the coin. In 1985, the South African Mint produced a limited number of these coins. However, a rare minting error occurred during production. Some coins were struck with an incorrect design, resulting in a small batch of 5-cent coins with an error that made them highly unique. Coin collectors and numismatists eagerly seek out these error coins, and a flawless example in perfect condition can command incredibly high prices. Another factor contributing to the value is the historical context. As we mentioned, 1985 was a year of significant political unrest in South Africa. Coins from this era, especially those with unique features, are highly prized by collectors who want to own a piece of history. Lastly, the coin's value has soared due to a small number of these error coins being discovered in pristine condition. Finding a 1985 South African 5-cent coin in perfect or near-perfect condition is incredibly rare, and this pristine condition has driven up its value. Over the years, this coin has made its way through various coin auctions and private sales. In recent years, its price has skyrocketed as demand from collectors continues to grow. But how did this coin go from being a simple 5-cent piece to a multi-million-dollar collectible? The coin first gained attention in the mid-2000s when it was spotted in an auction catalog. With a bidding frenzy that caught the attention of numismatists around the world, the 1985 5-cent coin eventually sold for an astonishing price. It's been through several high-profile auctions, where its value only continues to rise. For those of you thinking of adding one of these rare coins to your collection, it's important to know how to identify an authentic 1985 South African 5-cent coin. Many counterfeit versions exist, so you must know what to look for. First, examine the weight and dimensions of the coin. Authentic 5-cent coins from 1985 are made from a copper-nickel alloy, so they should have a specific weight and feel. Be sure to measure the coin's diameter and thickness as well. Second, pay close attention to the quality of the design. The engraving on genuine coins is sharp, and the details on the protea flower should be clear and well-defined. If you notice any irregularities in the design, you may be dealing with a fake. There you have it. The incredible story behind the 1985 South African 5-cent coin and why it's worth an astounding $2.5 million. From its unique historical context to its rare minting error and perfect condition, this coin truly represents the excitement and intrigue of coin collecting. Piece of currency. This coin 1986. 1-cent South African coin. But why is this coin worth so much? Stick around as we break it all down and explain how this humble coin became a collector's dream. Let's start with some history. The South African 1-cent coin was part of the country's currency system, introduced in 1961 after South Africa became a republic. The coin's design was simple yet elegant, featuring the image of a protea flower, a national symbol of South Africa, on the reverse side. This flower is a symbol of resilience and beauty, and it's fitting that it graces this small but significant coin. Fast forward to 1986, and the 1-cent coin was still circulating, but something remarkable happened that year. The mintage of the 1986 1-cent coin was extremely limited. Only a few were ever made, and even fewer survived in pristine condition. So, what makes the 1986 version so special? Well, there was a significant error in production that year, but we'll get into that shortly. In 1986, South Africa's mints produced a batch of 1-cent coins, but something went wrong. This error was caused by an issue during the minting process. and it led to an extremely rare variety of this coin. Here's the thing. Most of the 1986 1-cent coins are pretty standard, and they aren't worth much. But some feature a die error that makes them highly sought after by collectors. These rare coins were never officially released into circulation, but a few managed to slip through the cracks. These error coins have a unique design flaw that makes them stand out. It could be a misstruck coin, where the reverse image is slightly off-center, or perhaps there's an unusual feature in the design itself. It's the rarity and the uniqueness of these features that elevate the coin's value. Now, let's talk about why this coin is worth so much. The 1986 South African 1-cent coin has a very low mintage, and even fewer are in mint condition. The error variety, which is what collectors are hunting for, is incredibly rare. These rare coins have been sold at auction for tens of thousands of dollars, with one coin recently fetching a jaw-dropping $55. 500. Why is this coin so valuable? Well, rarity plays a huge role. When you combine the fact that only a handful of these coins exist with the demand from collectors, you get a perfect storm of value. But that's not all. The 1986 1-cent coin is a part of South African numismatic history, and owning one of these coins means holding a piece of the country's rich heritage. It's not just about the value in dollars. It's about owning a rare artifact from a time long past. So, if you're lucky enough to find a 1986 1-cent coin in your collection or while metal detecting. How do you know if it's worth the big bucks? Here are a few tips on identifying the rare version of the 1986 1-cent coin. 1. Examine the details. Look closely at the protea flower design. Any misstrikes or errors in the design are key indicators. 2. Check the weight. The normal weight for a 1986 1-cent coin is around 1.8 grams. Any significant difference could be a sign of a rare error. 3. Look for the off-center strike. A die error can cause the coin to be misstruck, giving it a distorted design. 4. Condition is crucial. Coins in mint state or uncirculated condition fetch a much higher value. If you have a coin with very little wear, you could be looking at a potential fortune. Make sure you keep your coins in good condition, preferably in a protective holder or capsule, to avoid any damage. The better the condition, the higher the potential value. Let's say you have a rare 1986 1-cent coin, or you're looking to add one to your collection. How do you go about selling or buying one of these coins? First, I recommend getting your coin professionally graded. A company like NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, or PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, can evaluate your coin and assign it a grade based on its condition. Once graded, you can sell it through a reputable auction house, a rare coin dealer, or even through online platforms like eBay. But be aware of counterfeit coins, and always work with trusted sources to ensure you're getting the best deal. So, there you have it, the 1986 South African 1-cent coin. A rare and valuable piece of numismatic history, piece of currency. This coin, 1985 2-cent coin. And trust me, this coin isn't just a piece of currency, it's a piece of history worth millions today. Yes, you heard that right, $3 million. But before we get into the insane value of this tiny copper coin, let's take a trip back in time to understand what makes this coin so special. South Africa, 1985, a time of political unrest, social change, and a country in the midst of a transformative period. It was also a time when coins were still predominantly used in everyday transactions, and the 2-cent coin was part of the circulation in South Africa. So, what makes the 1985 South African 2-cent coin worth millions? Well, it all begins with its rarity and unique history. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. As you can see, this coin is small, just 2.5 centimeters in diameter. On the obverse, we have the classic portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch colonial official who founded Cape Town. On the reverse, we have a depiction of the protea flower, which is South Africa's national flower. Jan van Riebeeck, often considered one of the first major figures in South African colonial history, played a significant role in establishing the Dutch East India Company's base in Cape Town in 1652. His image has been featured on several South African coins. The protea, a symbol of resilience and beauty, represents the diverse natural heritage of South Africa, but the story of this coin is far more than just its design. In 1985, The South African Mint produced a limited number of these 2-cent coins, and here's where things get interesting. Despite its initial low face value, the rarity of the coin combined with its historical significance makes it one of the most sought-after coins in the world today. The coin was only produced for circulation in 1985, and many of them were quickly melted down or lost. Now, not all 1985 2-cent coins are created equal. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. A typical circulated coin can be found for a few dollars, but an uncirculated coin, which hasn't been in circulation and still retains its original shine, can fetch up to $3 million. Yes, $3 million. That's because, in such good condition, the coin is almost like a time capsule preserved in its purest form. To truly understand the value of this coin, we need to talk about coin grading. Grading is the process of evaluating a coin's condition, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Coins are graded from poor to uncirculated. The 1985 2-cent coin that has a high grade, meaning it looks almost brand new, can command astronomical prices in auctions. At auctions, rare coins like the 1985 2-cent coin can sometimes break records. In recent years, we've seen rare South African coins selling for millions, and collectors from around the world are constantly on the lookout for these hidden treasures. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can I find one of these coins? Well, the chances of finding an uncirculated 1985 2-cent coin are slim to none. These coins are extremely rare, and they don't pop up in regular change. But there are a few ways you can start your search. First, you can scour online auctions and marketplaces. Websites like eBay, Heritage Auctions, or specialized coin shops sometimes list these rare finds. Second, visiting estate sales or coin shows could potentially uncover a hidden gem. But always make sure you're dealing with a reputable seller and have the coin authenticated before making any purchases. Authentication is key because there are many fakes out there. Some obvious signs of a counterfeit coin include irregular edges, off-center printing, and odd coloring. If you ever come across a rare coin, get it professionally authenticated before getting too excited. Since its release, the value of the 1985 2-cent coin has skyrocketed. In the late 1980s, the coin was worth just a few cents. But as time went on and fewer coins were available, the value grew exponentially. The turning point came in the early 2000s when an uncirculated 1985 2-cent coin sold for a jaw-dropping amount, nearly $3 million. This sent shockwaves through the coin collecting community, and collectors began to hunt for them in earnest. Now, let's take some time to answer a few of your questions that you've left in the comments. John from Texas asks, what exactly makes the 1985 2-cent coin so valuable? This coin ran 1985 Viljoen South Africa coin, and it has an astonishing value of $45,500 now. You're probably wondering, what makes this coin so special? What gives it such a sky-high value? Well, stick around as we explore its history, design, rarity, and how it became one of the most sought-after coins in the world today. To understand the true value of the rand 1985 Viljoen, we first need to take a step back into the history of South Africa in the 1980s. At the time, the country was going through some turbulent times, politically and economically. South Africa was still under the apartheid regime, a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination that would not end until 1994. The South African rand, which is the currency of South Africa, had been in use since 1961, replacing the pound. In the 1980s, inflation and political unrest were causing economic strain, but despite all that, the 1985 rand coin would soon become one of the most legendary pieces of South African currency. Let's talk design. The 1985 Viljoen rand was part of the South African government's coinage issue that featured prominent figures and symbols tied to the country's history. The coin was named after General Nicholas Jacobus Viljoen, a famous South African military leader. He played a significant role in the early days of the country's military efforts during the late 1800s. On the obverse side, you'll see an image of General Viljoen himself. This is one of the first things that makes this coin stand out. The level of detail in the engraving is truly remarkable, capturing his facial features with precision. On the reverse side, you'll notice the springbok antelope, a national symbol of South Africa, leaping gracefully. The springbok has always been a symbol of endurance and resilience, and it perfectly encapsulates the spirit of the nation during this turbulent era. Now, let's get to the juicy part. Why is this coin worth such a massive $45,500? Well, rarity plays a huge role in determining its value. Although millions of coins were minted in 1985, the Viljoen design had a few rare variants that were mistakenly released into circulation. These errors were initially overlooked by the general public, but coin collectors eventually realized that certain mints had a lower mintage. You see, out of all the 1 Rand 1985 coins, some had a rare variety or error in the minting process. These coins were part of a limited run that was accidentally struck with a different metal composition, giving them unique characteristics like unusual weight, size, or even slight design inconsistencies. That makes them highly sought after by collectors today. Coins like these are not only valuable because of their rarity, but also because they represent a piece of history. Every coin tells a story, and this one, in particular, represents the resilience of South Africa during a pivotal time in the country's history. When you hold one of these, you're holding a physical connection to a chapter in history. Now, when it comes to evaluating the value of rare coins, grading is everything. The 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen coin is no exception. Coins are graded based on their condition, whether they are uncirculated, proof, or somewhere in between a coin in mint condition, or MS 70, which is the highest grade, will obviously command a premium price. The 1985 Viljoen Rand with a flawless design, sharp edges, and no signs of wear can push its price up to $45,500 or more. On the other hand, if the coin is worn or has noticeable scratches, its value can drop dramatically. So, you're probably wondering, how can I get my hands on one of these rare 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen coins? Well, you might be surprised to know that they can still occasionally pop up at coin shops, estate sales, or even online auctions. The key is to keep your eyes peeled and understand what to look for. If you're planning to hunt for one of these coins, make sure to check the authenticity of the coin. Look at the markings, the design details, and most importantly, the grade of the coin. This is where expert collectors often come in, because they know exactly what to look for. Not only does the 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen coin hold immense monetary value, but it has become a cultural and historical icon for collectors. It symbolizes a country on the brink of change, a time when South Africa was undergoing a transformation that would ultimately lead to the end of apartheid and the birth of a new nation. The value of this coin is not just tied to its scarcity but also to the story it tells. If you own one of these, you're holding a piece of South African heritage that stood the test of time. So there you have it. The 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen South Africa coin, a true treasure in the world of coin collecting piece of currency, the 1965 South African 2-cent coin. Now, before you think this is just another ordinary coin, think again. This tiny piece of history could be worth a jaw-dropping $8 million. Stick around to find out why this particular coin is so extraordinary and how its value skyrocketed to unbelievable heights. So, what makes the 1965 2-cent South African coin worth such an astronomical amount? Let's start with the basics. A 2-cent coin from 1965 doesn't seem like something you'd associate with millions of dollars, right? But believe it or not, one of these coins, yes, just one, recently fetched a staggering $8 million at an auction. What could make this coin so special? Let's break it down. To understand the true value of the 1965 2-cent coin, we need to step back in time to South Africa in the 1960s. During this time, South Africa was still under the rule of the apartheid government, and the country's currency was primarily issued in different denominations of cents and rand. The 2-cent coin, like many others at the time, was issued by the South African Reserve Bank to represent smaller amounts of currency in circulation. At that time, the 2-cent coin was made from bronze, a metal that was relatively easy to produce. The minting of these coins continued for years without any major interruptions. But what made the 1965 coin so unique? One key factor that sets the 1965 South African 2-cent coin apart from all the others is its rarity. You see, most of the 2-cent coins from 1965 were produced with a standard design, featuring the iconic tortilla flower on the reverse side and the 2 denomination on the obverse. However, there's a very rare variant of this coin that features an S mint mark, indicating it was produced at the Pretoria Mint in South Africa. This particular variant is incredibly rare, with only a handful of them ever being struck. Most of the 2-cent coins in circulation today don't have this S mint mark, and because of that, this version is highly sought after by collectors around the world. So, let's talk about the minting error that turned this regular coin into a collector's dream. In 1965, there was an issue during the minting process, a mistake that very few people knew about at the time. During production, a small batch of these 2-cent coins was struck with a misalignment, causing this mint mark to appear incorrectly on some of the coins. This error was not noticed immediately, and as a result, only a few of these coins ever made it into circulation. Over the years, these rare coins were either lost, damaged, or hoarded by collectors who knew they were something special. But it wasn't until much later that the true value of these rare mint mark coins became clear. In 2019, one of these rare 1965 2-cent coins with the S mint mark was sold at an auction in South Africa. The bidding was fierce, with collectors from all over the globe vying for the opportunity to own this piece of history. What started as a modest bid soon turned into a bidding war, and eventually, the coin was sold for an eye-popping $8 million. How did a small 2-cent coin from 1965 fetch such an incredible price? Well, rarity and demand played a huge part, but also the fact that this coin was in near-perfect condition. The higher the quality of a coin, the higher its value. In this case, it was a perfect storm of rarity, error, and condition that resulted in the staggering price. Now, you might be wondering, why do minting errors like this one make coins so valuable? Well, minting errors are rare by their very nature. And when a coin is struck incorrectly, it becomes one of a kind. For collectors, the uniqueness makes the coin an invaluable treasure. Over the years, we've seen coins with double strikes, off-center prints, and even coins with missing details fetch high prices. It's these types of mistakes that make collectors excited because each coin tells its own story. But it's not just the minting error that makes a coin valuable. There are several factors to consider when determining a coin's worth. These include the rarity of the coin, its condition, which is known as its grade, and of course, its historical significance. For a coin like the 1965 South African 2-cent, it was the combination of all of these factors, rarity, the minting error, and its historical context, that pushed its value to the millions. If you're looking to get into coin collecting, or you want to know how to spot rare coins like this, there are a few tips you can follow. First, always look for the mint mark. This tells you where the coin was struck. Secondly, check the condition of the coin. Is it in near perfect shape, or has it been worn down? And lastly, always do your research. Understand the history behind the coin and its rarity, as this can significantly affect its value. So, to wrap things up, the 1965 South African 2-cent coin with the S mint mark is a prime example of how a small error in minting can turn a regular coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, this story, the 1988 South African 1-center coin. You've probably heard rumors that this coin is worth millions of dollars, and today, we're going to dig deep and figure out if there's any truth to that. We'll cover the history behind this coin, its rarity, its value in the market, and whether it's really worth that staggering $2 million. So grab your magnifying glasses and let's get started. But before we dive into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss another exciting coin discovery. Let's start by looking at the history of the South African 1-cent coin from 1988. This coin was part of a series of smaller denomination coins that were issued by the South African Reserve Bank. The design on the 1988 coin is quite symbolic and connects deeply with South Africa's culture and heritage. On the front, we have the famous image of a springbok, a national symbol of South Africa, representing the country's wildlife and natural beauty. On the reverse side, the coin features the value 1C along with the year of issue. In this case, 1988. The South African 1-cent coins, like many others around the world, were used for daily transactions, so it was a common sight during the late 80s. But what made this particular coin stand out in recent years? Well, it has to do with both its scarcity and the fact that it was part of a coin series that was discontinued shortly after 1988. That now, let's talk rarity, and here's where things start to get interesting. The 1988 1-cent coin was part of a specific coin series that was only produced for a short time. In fact, by 1990, South Africa decided to phase out the 1-cent denomination. So, this coin is already rare by virtue of its low mintage. But here's where the real twist comes in. There are rumors circulating that a very limited number of these coins were actually struck with a minting error, which makes them significantly more valuable. Some collectors claim that there are 1988 1-cent coins that have a slight misprint, either in the year or the design, that makes them exceptionally rare. But do these error coins actually exist? Let's take a closer look at what some experts are saying. Coin errors are not as common as many believe, but when they do occur, they can drastically increase the value of a coin. In the case of the 1988 South African 1-center, we've seen instances where coins with subtle errors in the springbok design or in the date printing have surfaced. These coins are incredibly difficult to find, which adds to their allure. Okay, let's get to the big question. Is the 1988 South African 1-center coin actually worth $2 million? That's a pretty bold claim, but let's break it down and see where this figure comes from. First, we have to consider the market for rare coins. Prices can fluctuate, but rare coins in good condition can fetch some incredible amounts of money. The 1988 South African 1-center, if it's in mint condition and is an error coin, could be worth a significant amount of money, perhaps even thousands or tens of thousands. However, the $2 million figure seems to be a bit of an exaggeration unless a particular error coin has sold for that price at an auction. At the moment, there's no verified sale of a 1988 1-cent coin at that price point, but if one were to surface, it could spark a frenzy in the numismatic community. But here's an important point to keep in mind. When it comes to rare coins, the value is determined not just by rarity, but by demand. So if a collector finds a true mint condition 1988 South African 1-center with a verified error, and if that coin has a high level of demand from international collectors, it could indeed see its value soar to impressive heights. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a 1988 South African 1-center coin in your possession and you're wondering if it's worth anything close to the big bucks, here's how you can determine its value. First, you'll want to carefully examine the condition of the coin. Coins are graded based on their appearance, and this is one of the most crucial factors in determining a coin's value. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin typically becomes. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state or proof, with higher grade coins often fetching much higher prices. Pay special attention to any wear, scratches, or fading in the design, as these will impact its value. That if you suspect that you have an error coin, you should take it to a professional numismatist or a certified coin grading service. They'll be able to verify whether your coin is truly a rare find and provide you with an official grade. The grading process can take some time, but it's well worth it if you think you've stumbled upon something special. So, you've got a 1988 South African 1-center coin, and you confirmed its rarity. Now what? Well, you want to protect that coin and consider where to sell it. High-value coins are best sold through reputable auction houses or specialized coin dealers. Websites like Heritage Auctions, eBay for certified coins, or local coin shows are great places to start. Just make sure you're dealing with professionals who can authenticate your coin. And here's a pro tip. Always store your coins in a safe, climate-controlled environment. Use coin holders or protective cases to prevent scratches, fingerprints, or any environmental damage. To recap, the 1988 South African 1-center coin is certainly an interesting piece of history. The 50-cent South African 1996 coin, It's not just any old coin you might find lying around. There's a huge story here about rarity, history, and how this coin could actually be worth a whopping $5 million. You heard that right. $5 million. Stick around till the end, because we're going to go through the complete history, the value, how to identify a rare version of this coin, and whether it's really possible for this coin to fetch such a massive price today. Before we get into the specifics of the 50-cent coin from 1996, let's take a quick look at the history of South African coinage. South Africa has a rich history of minting coins, beginning as far back as the Dutch East India Company in the 1600s. But it was in 1961 when the country officially became a republic, and the rand replaced the South African pound as the national currency. Over the years, various coins were issued, each carrying unique designs and symbols that reflected the country's cultural heritage and political landscape. The 50-cent coin in question today was part of a new series minted in 1996, featuring the famous South African wildlife design. The 50-cent South Africa 1996 coin features a beautifully detailed design. On the obverse, you'll find a portrait of former President Nelson Mandela, a pivotal figure in South Africa's history. This coin was issued shortly after the end of apartheid, marking a new era in the country's political landscape. Then on the reverse side, we have the iconic springbok antelope, a symbol of South Africa's wildlife and national pride. The coin is made from cupronickel, which gives it a nice, shiny finish and a decent level of durability. But the story doesn't end there. There's something incredibly rare about this coin. Here's where things get interesting. In 1996, a rare error occurred during the minting process of the 50-cent coin. Most of the 1996 coins were produced with the usual springbok design, but a small number of coins were struck with an error that makes them incredibly valuable. These rare coins were mistakenly produced with the wrong reverse die, and as a result, the springbok was missing or distorted. A mistake like this happens very rarely, and when it does, it creates a valuable collector's item. So, how do you know if you have one of these rare error coins? It's all about the design detail. If the springbok looks odd, or the minting seems slightly off, that could indicate you're holding one of the valuable error-struck coins. Now let's talk about how these error coins have become so incredibly valuable. A well-preserved 50-cent South Africa 1996 coin with a rare minting mistake has sold for hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, depending on its condition and rarity. Let's break it down. A coin in mint condition, with the error clearly visible, could be worth up to $5 million, especially if it has been graded highly by a professional numismatic organization. Coins with minting errors are sought after by collectors all over the world because they are one of a kind, making them incredibly desirable. Why are people paying these massive amounts? It's because rare coins, especially those with historical significance and unique errors, are one of the most lucrative types of investments in the world. Coin collectors and investors are always on the lookout for the next big find. So, how do you spot this rare 50-cent coin? Well, you'll need a keen eye for detail. Here's where to look for one. The year, it has to be from 1996. While other years might have a similar design, it's the 1996 coin that is the most valuable. Point 2, the springbok design. Examine the reverse side carefully. If you notice any distortions or irregularities in the springbok antelope image, you could be looking at a rare error coin. 3. Condition. A coin in excellent condition with no signs of wear will naturally be more valuable. Coins that are well preserved are graded higher by experts and fetch higher prices. You can use a magnifying glass or a coin loop to look for small details that might set your coin apart from a regular 50-cent coin. If you think you have one of these rare 50-cent coins, don't just stash it away. Here's what you should do. 1. Get it appraised. The first step is to take it to a professional coin appraiser or numismatic expert. They can tell you if it's a real minting error and how much it's worth. Point 2. Get it graded next. It's important to get your coin graded by a reputable service like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS. A high-grade coin will always sell for a premium. Point 3. Sell it at auction. If you have a truly rare coin, you might want to consider selling it at a specialized coin auction. These are the places where serious buyers and collectors come to find such unique treasures. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is the 50-cent South Africa 1996 coin really worth $5 million? Well, it depends. Not every 1996 coin is worth that much. The rare ones with clear minting errors are the ones that fetch such high prices. But don't get your hopes up just yet. The value depends on a lot of factors like condition, rarity, and demand at the time of sale. That said, if you've got one of these error coins in your collection, you could be holding on to something incredibly valuable. So, there you have it. The 50-cent South Africa 1996 coin is an incredibly fascinating piece of history. Up to the coin rare 1992 South Africa 20-cent coin, and we're going to explore why it could fetch as much as $4 million. Yes, you heard that right. $4 million. So, if you have one of these coins lying around, you might want to stick around for the next 20 minutes as we uncover all the secrets of this remarkable piece of numismatic history. The 1992 20-cent coin is a key player in the story of South Africa's coinage history. Issued in the early 90s, South Africa was undergoing significant political and social changes, leading to the transition from apartheid to a more democratic system. The 20-cent coin itself features a striking design, showcasing a springbok, one of South Africa's most iconic animals. Known for its speed and agility, in 1992, a regular production of these coins took place. But what makes this particular year special isn't just the design. It's the incredibly rare misprints and limited mintage that happen behind the scenes. Now, what's crucial here is that while most of these coins are relatively common, a small portion of them were misstruck or had defects during the minting process. This is where things get interesting. There were several errors that occurred in 1992, including an extremely rare coin that went into circulation with a completely incorrect die, one that features the wrong inscription or a misaligned design. These coins are the ones collectors are hunting for. Imagine holding a coin that's worth more than just its face value of 20 cents. We're talking about a coin that could be worth $4 million. How does that happen? It's all about rarity, demand, and the mistake made during production. In 1992, a small batch of 20-cent coins was struck with an error that caused the coin to be misaligned or display incorrect markings. It's important to understand that error coins, particularly those from well-known mints like the South African Mint, are highly prized by collectors. And when a coin like this is discovered, its value can skyrocket. As you can see in this comparison, the misstruck coin looks very similar to the standard version at first glance. But upon closer inspection, the difference is unmistakable. These rare error coins are incredibly valuable because they're unique, and the story behind them makes them even more desirable to collectors. So, what exactly makes error coins so valuable? Well, when it comes to coins like the 1992 South Africa 20 cent, rarity is the key factor. The fewer the errors, the higher the demand among collectors. And when a coin is this rare, collectors go crazy for it. It's a mix of history, scarcity, and the thrill of owning something that not many people have. Error coins are typically graded by numismatists, experts who assess their authenticity, condition, and rarity. A coin with the right error in pristine condition could be worth a lot more than its face value. Now, $4 million might sound like an exaggeration, but there have been cases where specific misprinted coins have sold for astronomical amounts. Take, for instance, a famous 20-cent error coin that recently sold at auction for millions. This shows us that even a small minting mistake can lead to a huge payday. But of course, these types of error coins don't come around every day. Alright, so now you're probably wondering how you can spot a potential 1992 South Africa 20-cent coin error in your collection. The first step is to check for visual signs of misalignment or irregularities in the design. You're looking for things like doubled inscriptions, incorrect mint marks, or a misaligned die. If the coin looks off-center or has any unusual features, there's a good chance it might be an error coin. Take a look at this example. Notice how the image and text are slightly askew? That's an example of a misaligned die. This type of error could be one that increases the value of your coin. Also, you'll want to check the coin's mint mark and compare it to others from the same year. If something doesn't seem right, get it appraised by an expert.so. Let's say you found a rare 1992 South Africa 20-cent error coin. What do you do next? Into the fascinating world of coin collecting and talk about one coin that could be worth a staggering $2 million. Yes, you heard that right. $2 million. If you've ever wondered what makes coins so valuable, or if you have any old coins lying around, this video is for you. Today, we'll explore the rare 1965 10-cent coin from South Africa and why it could be worth more than you ever imagined. Let's start with a bit of history. The South African 10-cent coin was first issued in 1961 as part of the country's move to decimalize its currency. Before that, South Africa had been using the pound as its currency. Now, 1965 was an important year for South Africa as it was a period of significant political and economic changes in the country. Under the apartheid regime, the economy was shifting and new coins were being minted as part of the country's national identity. This 10-cent coin features the famous springbok antelope on the reverse side, which is an iconic symbol of South Africa. On the obverse, you'll find the portrait of the then Prime Minister, Hendrik Verwoerd, who played a significant role in South Africa's apartheid system. Now, let's get into what makes this coin so rare and valuable. The 1965 South Africa 10-cent coin is particularly interesting because it was minted in very limited quantities. The standard 10-cent coins were produced in both copper, nickel, and silver, but the 1965 coin, specifically, is part of a very rare set. Most of the coins produced in this year are in relatively good condition, but a few key pieces are highly sought after by collectors for their scarcity and the year they were produced. What's crucial to understand here is the condition of the coin. Coin collectors and numismatists often refer to the rarity of a coin by its minting error, its historical significance, and its condition. A coin in mint state, meaning it's nearly perfect, will have a far higher value than one that's been heavily worn over the years. Now, you may be wondering, what makes this specific 1965 coin worth such an incredible amount of money? Well, it all comes down to a very rare variety of this coin that was accidentally minted with a unique error, a double die or a misstrike. This minting mistake resulted in coins that had a more prominent, clearer strike with extra features that weren't intended to be there. Because of this error, collectors are willing to pay a premium for any coin that features this anomaly. The 1965 10-cent coin with this double die or misstrike has been known to fetch bids of up to $2 million at auctions. You might think, how does a simple mistake make a coin worth so much? Well, in the world of numismatics, errors like these are highly sought after, especially when they're as rare as this. Collectors know that the rarer the error, the higher the value. In fact, this particular coin is considered to be one of the holy grail finds in South African numismatics. Only a handful of these coins with the error exist, which makes them exceptionally valuable. Now, let's talk about how you can identify whether you have a valuable coin on your hands. First off, examine the date. Look for a 1965 coin. Then, check the features of the coin closely. You want to look for any doubling in the numbers or the design, which could indicate a double die error. Sometimes, these errors can be subtle, so make sure you look carefully. Use a magnifying glass or a coin microscope if you can. If you think you've found an error coin, your best bet is to have it professionally graded by a trusted numismatist or grading service like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS. These organizations can assess your coin and assign it a grade, which significantly impacts its value. Once you've identified a rare coin and have it professionally graded, you may want to sell it. The best place to start is through major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers, or even eBay, where many rare coins are sold to the highest bidder. Another option is to sell it through specialized numismatic dealers or online forums dedicated to coin collectors. But remember, always be cautious and do your research. Only deal with trusted professionals to avoid scams. Oh, there you have it. The 1965 South African 10-cent coin. An artifact that could be worth millions of dollars due to a rare minting error. If you have one of these coins in your collection story,